The golden age of America wasn't supposed to end. For nearly a century, the United States ruled the world, not by accident, but by design. It had only 4% of the global population, yet produced 20% of its wealth and controlled almost 40% of its military power. An empire built on innovation, freedom, and the belief that its future was unshakable. But history has one brutal rule: every empire believes it's different until it's not. The Dutch thought so, the British, even Rome thought so. And now, the cracks are appearing in America's walls. By 2028, China is expected to surpass the US as the largest economy on Earth. But this isn't a sudden takeover, it's the result of a decades-long chess game that America never realized it was playing. While Washington was celebrating the fall of the Soviet Union, Beijing was quietly planning a rise of its own. In the 1990s, when the US basked in post-Cold War glory, China began transforming, not with armies, but with factories. By 2020, Chinese manufacturing had exploded from 100 billion to nearly $5 trillion. And the irony? The United States, the world's richest nation, became dependent on its rival for almost everything it used to make itself. Laptops, phones, clothes, toys. Prosperity on the surface, vulnerability underneath. But this dependence wasn't America's only weakness. It had a second one: debt. Today, the US owes more than $36 trillion. By 2034, it expected to hit $54 trillion, nearly $150,000 for every citizen. Rome collapsed under military overreach, Britain under economic exhaustion. America? Its weakness may be financial gravity itself. For decades, Americans lived beyond their means, borrowing, consuming, importing, and assuming the bill would never come due. But it always does. Look around. The once mighty manufacturing cities, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Youngstown, are now hollowed out monuments to a vanished age. Middle-class wages have stagnated. Home prices have exploded 500% since the 1980s, and millions feel the American dream slipping from their hands. So when Trump promised to bring it back, to rebuild factories, revive jobs, and make America great again, millions believed him. His plan? Tariffs. Taxes on imports to raise $1.8 trillion and force companies back home. It sounded strong, patriotic, simple, but it ignored one truth. The world had changed. Tariffs raised prices, investors panicked, confidence in US debt began to shake, and with every small interest rate increase, America's mountain of debt grew even heavier. A 1% rise now costs $300 billion a year. That's more than the entire education budget. Gone, just to pay interest. That's how empires fall, not with battles, but with bills. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, China wasn't celebrating. It was calculating. While America borrowed to consume, China saved to invest. $19 trillion in household saving by 2023. That money built high-speed rail, solar farms, semiconductor plants, and ports across Africa, Asia, and Europe. This is the Belt and Road Initiative. Not a war, but a quiet conquest through concrete and credit. Every port, every power plant, every bridge, a thread in a web of influence connecting the world back to Beijing. And while Americans argue about politics, China is designing the infrastructure of the next century. This isn't about democracy versus communism, it's about strategy versus comfort, long-term thinking versus short-term gain. The United States spent decades believing the future would always belong to it. China spent those same decades building the future it wanted. And now, as the world watches debt climb, factories fade, and trust crumble, the torch of the global power begins to flicker. The 20th century belonged to America. The 21st, it may belong to someone else.